I could get a lot more excited about the Neil Lennon appointment if I heard some impressive names that were potentially coming on board
Mm.
with him. And I
So,
mean, you talk about the amount of CVs, and CVs that should be flooding in. Like, you would love to know who has actually applied for this job. Like, is that, or does anybody apply for the job? Do you wait to be approached, or do you apply for the job? What
I'd
way
say
does the process actually work?
there is that mix, isn't there? You know yourself, like, there'll be managers and someone who have already done it where they'll do a interview with someone or they'll do a podcast and that's their way of saying, yeah, I'm into it, rather than formally handing in their CV. Because there's some managers who will be like, that's beneath me to actually apply for the job. You can come to me if you want to speak to me. Which that's what happens with some, maybe it's gonna be that mixture, isn't it? You probably get some CVs from coaches and managers, and then they would have had their own kind of shortlist or people in mind. And then stuff where they get approached by agents as well. That's just the nature of it, isn't it? It's like, but this is another aspect to it as well, where like Mark Hannum is the one driving this. He's the director of football. That's the one who Jonathan Hill. I know Jonathan Hill's been involved. Packy Bonner has kind of been involved as well, obviously as a director in terms of maybe more so with the whittling down process. But you kind of feel like he hasn't got a huge amount of credit in the bank in terms of because he's relatively new to the job, and people are kind of looking at him and thinking, well, the contacts he might have and the experience he would have with like doing this, that's another aspect to this as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like if it was one of them where if you're looking from the club point of view where it's someone going in and they have a kind of experience, they have like a CV saying, right, well, I did this and I brought this person in X, Y, and Z over the years, right? What's that word? What's the trust the process? That's what you're here. But that's where
Mm.
it's difficult to kind of. That's where again we wrote about over the weekend just about a little bit of confusion because it does even feel like that if Lee Carsley is one person and Neil Lennon's another who they seem to be the top two, like their profiles as
Very different.
are very different, and
Very, very different.
that
Yeah.
just kind of strikes me as well. Hold on, like, how is this getting led? Is this getting led by people making themselves available, like being agent led or being led by that, or is it actually? You would like to think, Janie Mack, if Lee Carsley was your number one choice, well then your number two and three and four choice are going to be of a
Similar
similar,
profiles. Yep,
you know.
100%. And this is where I'm saying, this is why I'm genuinely interested to know what has been the recruitment strategy here, okay? Because in my opinion, be it in sport or in business, if a role needs to be filled, okay, I would put it out there to see what applications come in, and maybe a surprise application will come in that you're thinking, yeah, Jesus, that's not a bad one. That makes sense. But that would almost be secondary to the fact that what I'd really be doing is I would be writing up my list of my top three, top five who fit the criteria of what we want. And I would be going after them, not waiting for them to come and apply for the job. I would be
Yeah.
going after those people. And you obviously start at the top and go after the first one. And if that's not doable, well, then you move to the second one. And maybe two names on that five might, or one name on that five might end up being somebody who actually did apply for the job. But like just sitting around and waiting to see what comes in, like to me, that makes absolutely no sense. I'm not convinced that we've been imaginative enough here, that they've actually, you've laid out a bit of criteria that I broadly agree with. Surely, if you sat down, trawled the names that are in football management in the world, you could come up with a few who tick the boxes that you're after calling out there and are somewhat reasonably gettable.